Dear students, can you identify the person in this picture? Yes, you are right. He is a very famous, well known sitar player, Pandit Ravi Shankar. In this lesson, the concert, let us try to know more about Pandit Ravi Shankar. This story is written by Shanta Rameshwar Rao. It is not only a story, but it is a true story. All the names except Pandit Ravi Shankar and Ustad Allah Haka have been changed. So, this Shanta Rameshwar Rao, she is a very famous writer. She was born in 1924. She is an Indian writer of myths, legends, folk tales, short stories, and picture books for children. She has retold tales from Indian scriptures and reworked folk tales and myths from little known tribal communities and far flung areas of India. She stresses the importance of wise action in our public as well as private life. So you can see in this picture, a little girl is reading the newspaper. Come, let us see how this story begins. One morning in a small apartment in the Bombay, a girl of about 16 years, she looked up from the newspaper and said excitedly, Pandit Ravi Shankar is playing tomorrow at the Shanmugananda auditorium. Shh, said her mother, pointing to the figure sleeping on the bed. You will wake him up. You know he needs all the sleep and rest he can get. So, here is a picture. You can see a little girl reading the newspaper. A boy is lying on the bed, and mother wants to give him rest. But the boy on the bed was not asleep. Pandit Ravi Shankar, he said. Pandit Ravi Shankar, the sitar maestro. So, maestro here refers to a great musician, especially the person who is a very great performer is called as a maestro. So, he is excited. Pandit Ravi Shankar, the sitar maestro. He raised himself up on his elbows for 1 second, then fell back, but his eyes were shining. We mustn't miss the chance, he said. I have always wanted to hear him and see him. Lie down, son, lie down. His mother sprang to his side. He actually raised himself up without help. She murmured with a catch in her throat, and her eyes turned to the idols on a corner shelf. The prayer which she uttered endlessly came, unbidden to her lips. What is the meaning of with a catch in her throat? That means a feeling of great sorrow could be seen. Unbidden means without being asked or invited or expected. So here is a picture you can see. Anant is imagining the boy who was sleeping on the bed was none other than Anant. He is very fond of Pandit Ravi Shankar's performance and he is not feeling well. He is on the bed and here in this picture you can see how he is imagining. Here is a picture of Pandit Ravi Shankar, a very famous sitar player of India. I must hear him and see him, the boy repeated. It is the chance of a lifetime. Then he began to cough and gasp for breath and had to be given oxygen from the cylinder that stood under the bed. But his large eyes were fixed on his sister. Smita bit her lip in self reproach. She had been so excited at seeing the announcement that she had not remembered that her brother was very ill. She had seen how the doctors had shaken their heads gravely and spoken words that neither she nor her parents could understand. So, self reproach here means a blame or a criticism against oneself. Now, we are able to understand the story. What is the condition of the little boy Anant? And Smita, in her excitement, she has announced that there is a performance by Pandit Ravi Shankar. But somewhere deep inside, Smita had known the frightening truth that Anant was going to die. The word cancer had hung in the air. Her brother was dying of cancer, even though she pretended that all would be well and they would return together, a small family of four, to their home in Gaganpur. Now you are able to understand the story, I believe. Now let us see who was Anant, what was his story. He was only a 15 years boy and the best table tennis player in the school, and he was also a fastest runner. He was learning to play the sitar. They were both taking sitar lesson. Both here refers to Smita and her brother Anant. But Anant was better than her as in many other things. He was already able to compose his own tunes to the astonishment of their guru. Astonishment refers to a feeling of a very great surprise. He was already able to compose his own tunes, and suddenly, unluckily, a cancer had struck and they had come to Bombay so that he could be treated at the cancer hospital in the Bombay city. So here is a picture of a boy. We can imagine that he is Anand, who was an all-rounder, very good in table tennis as well as playing sitar. Whenever they come to Bombay, the family stayed with Aunt Sushila. Her apartment was not big, but there was always room for them. They had come with high hopes in the miracles of modern science. They told themselves that Anant would be cured at the hospital and he would again walk and run and even take part in the forthcoming table tennis tournament. And he would play the sitar and perhaps would be a greatest sitarist one day. But his condition grew worse with each passing day, and the doctors at the cancer hospital said, "Take him home." That means there was no hopes given to Anand's recovery. They wanted him to take him back to the home. Give him the things he likes, indulge him, and they knew then that the boy had not many days to live. But they did not voice their fears. They laughed and smiled and talked and surrounded Anant with whatever made him happy. They fulfilled his every need and gave whatever he asked for. And now he was asking to go to the concert, the chance of a lifetime. He was saying, "When you are better," his mother said. So Anand felt that it was a chance of a lifetime to attend the performance of Pandit Ravi Shankar. But since he was ill, his mother said, "When you become better, you can definitely attend his program. This is not the last time they are going to play." So somehow mother wants to console him. Smita stood at the window looking at the traffic, her eyes filled with tears. Her mother whispered, "But you, Smita, you must go. Your father will take you." When she was alone with Aunt Sushila, Smita cried out in a choked voice, "No, how can I? We have always done things together, Anant and I. A walk in the park might make you feel better," said Aunt Sushila, and Smita was grateful for her suggestion. In the park, people were walking, running, playing ball, doing yogic exercises, feeding the ducks, and eating roasted gram and peanuts. Smita felt alone in their midst. She was lost in her thoughts. So, here is a picture we can imagine. Though the park is good, though it is filled with number of people doing different kinds of job, but Smita's mind was thinking only about her brother and the concert which is going to take place. Suddenly a daring thought came to her mind, and as she hurried home she said to herself, "Why not? There is no harm in trying it. it would be nice to go to the concert. I don't know when we will get another opportunity to hear Pandit Ravi Shankar, she said to her mother later, and her father agreed to get the tickets. The next day, as Smita and her father were leaving for the concert, her brother smiled and said, "Enjoy yourself," though the words came out in painful gasps. Lucky you. That means he felt that he is unlucky. So here is a picture. You can see a performance given by Pandit Ravi Shankar, and next to him there is a very famous tabla artist, that is Allah Raka, and they are giving a performance in the Shanmugananda hall. Sitting beside her father in the gallery, Smita heard, as in a dream, the thundering welcome the audience gave to this great master. Then the first notes came over the air, and Smita felt as if the gates of enchantment and wonder were opening. Spellbound, she listened to the unfolding ragas, the slow, plaintive notes, the fast twinkling ones, but all the while the plan she had decided on the evening before remained firmly in her mind. The chance of a lifetime. She heard Anand's voice in every beat of tabla. The concert came to an end, and the audience gave the artist a standing ovation. Standing ovation means all of them, they will get up as a mark of respect. Enthusiastic clapping by the audience, who stand up from their seats as a sign of their appreciation. So the concert came to an end. A large mustached man made a long, boring speech. Then followed the presentation of bouquets. Bouquet. The bouquet was presented to Pandit Ravi Shankar as a token of appreciation. Then more applause and the curtain came down. The people began to move towards the exit. So here you can see the standing ovation, that is enthusiastic clapping by the audience, who were very happy listening to Pandit Ravi Shankar. Now was the time Smita wriggled her way through the crowds towards the stage. So wriggling means to twist and turn her body to part of it with quick short movement. She was able to move near to the stage. Then she went up the steps that led to the wings. Her heart beating was very loud. In the wings, a small crowd had gathered to talk about the evening concert, to help carry bouquet and teacups and instruments. He was there standing with the man who played the tabla for him, the great wizard of music, Ustad Allah Rakha. Her knees felt weak, her tongue dry, but she went up and standing before them, her hands folded, "Oh, sir," she burst out. "Yes?" he asked questioningly but kindly. And her story came pouring out, the story of her brother who lay sick at home, and of how he longed to hear him and the Ustad play. "Little girl," said the mustached man who had made the long speech, "Panditji is a busy man. You must not bother him with such request." But Pandit Ravishankar smiled and motioned him to be quiet. That means he signaled him to remain quiet. He turned to Ustad Sahib and said, "What shall we do, Ustad Sahib?" The Ustad moved the wad of pan from one cheek to another. He was eating the pan. "Tomorrow morning we perform for the boy. Yes?" he said. "Yes, Panditji," replied. "It is settled then." That means they agreed to come to Smita's house and to play for Anant. It was a very excited moment for Smita. She was so excited. She came home late that night. Anant was awake, breathing the oxygen from the cylinder. Did you hear him? He whispered. I did, she replied. And I spoke to him, and he will come tomorrow morning with the tabla ustad, and they will play for you. And the following morning, Aunt Sushila's neighbors saw two men getting out of a taxi which pulled up outside their block. They could not believe their eyes. It is not possible, they said. Yes, so here is a picture which gives us complete story what might be the next action. Here you can see Anant is on the bed, Smita standing, her mother, and Pandit Ravi Shankar with Ustad Allah Raka playing for this little boy Anant. Pandit Ravi Shankar and Ustad Allah Raka went up the wooden staircase and knocked softly on the door of Aunt Sushila's apartment. They went in, sat down on the divan by the window, and played for the boy, surrounding him with a great and beautiful happiness as life went out of him gently, very gently. That means to say that listening to Pandit Ravi Shankar, slowly Anant left this world. So his last wish, and he wanted to listen to Pandit Ravi Shankar, a lifetime desire of Anant was made fulfilled by his sister's effort and the kind hearted nature of Pandit Ravi Shankar. Hope you were able to follow the lesson.